Yo, we're back. 38 more days till football. I hope everyone's excited for the 2023-2024 NFL football season. And we're going to get into some tier rankings. Hopefully, and I haven't sat down to look at what they have available in full, but I found some good quarterback tier rankings. I found some running back tier rankings. And I'm going to try to put together a tier ranking positionally if I can throughout all the positions in the NFL. Maybe not offensive line. I highly doubt someone would put together an offensive line tier ranker. But we're going to do a little bit of these tier rankings here over the next few weeks. Soon we're going to be starting to drop divisional breakdowns and predictions with the guys for the pre-NFL season. And then at the very end of the month, we're going to be doing the live stream of the fantasy football draft with all the guys that are in my fantasy league, like I normally do. And we'll start out with these QB rankings right here. So I have not looked at this list. I don't know to what degree the quarterbacks are on here. Just I seen the little slots and I thought, okay, that covers a lot of decent ground. I don't like this difference between great QBs and franchise QBs. I guess if a QB is great, you would essentially lock him down for a while to make him your franchise quarterback. I guess it would be great is going to be very good, and then franchise, I don't know, great's going to be probably pretty good, and then franchise is going to be like really like A tier guy they would you sign a long time, and then best QBs is going to be like S tier, I guess. So we'll go through the list. Let's see what we got down here. A couple of these guys, I can't tell who they are. Like, is that Blau? Who the fuck is that guy? I don't know who that dude is, but whatever. If I don't know who it is, I'll just throw him down at uncertain QBs. Looks like there's a lot of backups and rookie here. I think that's Trace McSorley. I think that's Kyle Trask. But yeah, we'll get into it. So, Andy Dalton. I think even at this, so this is hard. So Andy Dalton, throughout the course of his career, has been a pretty good quarterback. Yeah, he's had good weapons and good teams and stuff that have helped him, but he's always been accurate, in my opinion, an underrated anticipatory thrower and a decent processor. Not the most athletic guy, not the best arm talent. I would say at this point in his career, I would have to put him in a lesser QB. I would say at one point in his career, he was a good QB. I would say lesser QB because at his age right now, he really just relies on his accuracy. He's not going to overwhelm you with his arm talent. He can win you football games, but I would say lesser QB. So this one's an interesting one to me. The Colts quarterback, Anthony Richardson. So Anthony Richardson, I don't understand why everyone freaks out over Anthony Richardson's tape. Like, I know that he has, in theory, arm talent that could be coached. He's not accurate at all. There's been some comparisons made to Josh Allen, but Josh Allen did play more games in college. I think Anthony Richardson's only played in 13 games. I think it's odd that everyone liked to shit on other prospects and act like other prospects weren't talented in the draft when they had way better tape against really good teams and were more consistent and more accurate, like Hendon Hooker and Will Levis. They're going with upside here. The fact that quarterbacks now, a lot of them are playmakers, can really run the football and stuff. There's added more value there. A lot of these quarterbacks average more yards rushing than a lot of the running backs now, and that's because when the quarterback's not taken out of the play, it's legit 7-on-7 football. The angles in which quarterbacks can take off and create space and make plays in the pocket. It changes the game and it changes how you can attack teams in the rush game, and I think it's more effective, honestly. Anthony Richardson, I don't know if I'm going to put the rookies into uncertain about QBs because we haven't seen them play. I guess I would say he's going to start. I'll put him in here, lesser QBs. And if I think a rookie, it's hard. I could say uncertain QBs, meaning like he hasn't played. He's not. We don't know if he's bad or if he's going to be a backup. I'll put some of the rookies into lesser if I think they have talent. So I'll put him in lesser. Baker Mayfield has arm talent. I actually think he has loads of arm talent. I think he's actually a solid processor. I don't think he's overtly athletic. You could be a good processor and see what's going on in the field, but he still sometimes makes boneheaded plays. Cannon for an arm. With the Bucks, I would say Baker Mayfield is an average quarterback with good quarterback upside. And as I go through this, I'm going to put them in order in terms of their talent. I mean, I like Andy Dalton, but like in terms of probably effectiveness on the football field, the rushing ability of Richardson probably puts him ahead. So as I go, I'm going to rank them left or right, like the best in each tier, like where I think they are. Jacoby Brissett. I'll say lesser quarterback. Jacoby Brissett's proven he can win football games, and, you know, he's got some decent, well-rounded abilities. He can run a little bit. Not the greatest arm talent, but he knows how to manage a game. Doesn't make a fuck ton of mistakes and stuff like that, so he goes in lesser quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater. So this one's tough. I think when Teddy Bridgewater's healthy, he's actually a really good quarterback. He's really accurate, doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's a really good team guy. Do I think he's more talented of an actual thrower than Baker Mayfield? No. So I guess I have to throw him in for different reasons. Him and Baker Mayfield are similar. Baker Mayfield can make every throw when he's on top of his game, whereas Teddy's more of like a dink and dunk guy. But Teddy's really accurate. There's been games where if you give him the right pieces, he's fucking destroyed teams. Poor guy's just been injured his whole career. He's actually kind of underrated, but you can't be injured half your career, you know. It just is what it is. Based off what we've seen, I always forget this kid's last name. Played for the 49ers. Fuck. Brock Purdy. I would say Brock Purdy, based off what we've seen, is a good quarterback. Now, you know, I got buddies that think quarterback doesn't matter and that all you need is your quarterback to not, you know, throw interceptions and all this other stuff. But I think he's, you know, played really, really good. I think at times he showed he's a playmaker. And I think he's decently accurate. Very small sample size, but right now I think Brock Purdy, when he's upright and healthy, I think he's a good quarterback, especially on that football team. Joe Burrow, there's not much to be said. He's literally one of the best. Yeah, there's a little S next to this. I just realized that. So S-tier quarterbacks. There's a handful of guys who are going to go up here. Joe Burrow, he literally can do everything. Arm talent, not top-tier arm in terms of throwing the ball down the field, although he can throw the ball down the field. It's just his velocity is not as good as, like, Mahomes or Allen or, you know, you name some of these dudes higher, like fucking Herbert or Rodgers, but I can make the argument that in terms of purely playing quarterback from an efficiency standpoint, processing, accuracy, leading, all these other things, he also has playmaking ability. His playmaking ability is underrated. Gets a lot of first downs, can run for touchdowns, deceptively gets out there, is fast and agile. Keeps getting injured in the preseason, which is driving me nuts, but, you know, people could say what they want, but he hasn't had a full preseason yet in the league, and he's gone to Super Bowl and an AFC championship past 2 years, so y'all can suck my dick. Joe Burrow, he's an S tier. Derek Carr. I don't think he's a great quarterback. He's got to go into good, but he goes ahead of Brock Purdy. So Derek Carr is another guy who has really good arm talent. I just think he's played for a bad franchise most of his career that hasn't done enough. They haven't put enough around him. Offensive line, weapons, defense has absolutely been horrible for the most part since he's been with the Raiders. I think his decision-making at times can be bad, especially in big games, and I think that's the reason why he hasn't won as many games as he probably should. But I do think overall he's a very talented quarterback. I just think he's a guy that needs more around him to truly hit his peak, so he goes into good. I think this is the dude that filled in for, is this Cooper Rush? I think this is Cooper Rush. A lesser quarterback. I mean, he showed he'd come in and win football games and shit. I wouldn't say he's a bad backup or a bad quarterback, but I mean, he's nowhere in the stratosphere as Dak is. But guy's got decent arm talent. He's not going to wow you with his athleticism or nothing like that. You know, processing's like okay and shit. But yeah, he's a lesser quarterback. Davis Mills, lesser quarterback. He's probably better than these two. Davis Mills, the guy's he's just a decent, well-rounded quarterback. Not really athletic, more of a pocket guy. Focuses more on his accuracy. He can't really drive the football down the field. Just an average processor. He's just an average guy. He's not going to win the starting job over Stroud, so they would never draft a quarterback had they not think that he was more than a lesser quarterback. So Dak Prescott. Say what you want about Dak Prescott. He's had one bad year. He's a franchise quarterback. Won a lot of football games. Yeah, when you get to the playoffs, let's be honest, it's hard for you to win football games even if you have a bad team or even if you have a really good roster. I'm surrounded by, people that try to act like Josh Allen fucking sucks when he has to run into Patrick Mahomes and he has to run into Joe Burrow every single year. It's like you could be a really good quarterback on a really good team, but you end up running into other good teams with good quarterbacks, and someone's got to lose to each other in those games. So I think like a kid, my boy RJ, this guy I follow on another channel, he said fans like who they like and hate who they hate, and that's so fucking true. Like, all you fans throw caution to the wind and just fucking say the shit you want to say because you hate players or like players and ignore facts. The fact is, Dak Prescott's been a really good player in this league. No matter what you want to say about the teams he's had and stuff, he's going to bounce back this year. He's a guy that if you don't have a quarterback and he's willing to sign with your team, you'd be stupid not to sign a guy like him. He's a playmaker, really, really accurate. Not the greatest arm talent as in some of the other guys in this slot or the slot above, but really good processor, tough as nails, can run, really good leader. So Dak Prescott, franchise quarterback. Sam Darnold. So Sam Darnold at times shows that he's actually got really good arm talent and stuff. He's not the best processor. He's not consistent. He really is a bust, like, in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of people thought he was going to be, that thought he was a great prospect. I thought he was a really good prospect, too. I loved the arm talent coming out of school, but he also had a lot of good players on his USC team, I think, that made him look a lot better than he is. Sometimes that is the case with quarterbacks. Some quarterbacks can flourish and get a lot of wins with lesser teams. Some quarterbacks need the push and need extra players to really thrive. And ideally, you'd want a team, right, that's really good. You don't want a team that's bad around your quarterback, but some players, truly need the extra push, and that's him. I would say he's probably here, lesser quarterback in front of these four, Dalton and these guys, because he's definitely more talent, got more physical tools and more arm tools than these guys, but he's still just not that great. I don't know who this guy is, so I'm throwing him here. Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones, I would say. So this one's tough too. Daniel Jones, so he's not worth the money that the Giants paid him. You could say what you want about Patrick Mahomes' long contract and how it looks good down the line and how they got him for a steal, but they're still paying him $45 million a year on average. That's $5 more million a year than what Daniel Jones got. And if you even want to say their names in the same sentence, then you should go fall down a flight of stairs. I will say, in my opinion, his play last year, even though you look at the numbers and they weren't that great, I would say he is the reason why that team made the playoffs. You can say what you want about Barkley, but Barkley had a year last year that a lot of running backs can have. 1,500, 1,600 all-purpose yards. Low teens and touchdown. Daniel Jones was going hard in the second half of the season, if I'm honest. So this one's a tough one. You either have to put him at the top of the average quarterbacks or at the bottom of the good quarterbacks. I'm going to put him right here. And I say that because I think that if you surrounded him with the right pieces, you could win a bunch of football games with Daniel Jones. He has the playmaking ability, and I'm going to be making a video later on at some point about the state of the running back situation. I've made like 6 pages of notes on it. And how there's a lot of ways in which the quarterback is impacting the run, not just from the fact that quarterbacks are just more effective and more important in football, but because the fact a lot of these quarterbacks are playmakers on the ground now, it really affects how much running backs are worth. And Daniel Jones is a legitimate playmaker on the ground. So when you add his running ability, I would say he's a good quarterback. I just think he's a quarterback, that like these other three that need a really good team around him to really maximize his potential. Josh Dobbs. Yeah, I mean, Josh Dobbs, he's a good story, nice guy, but he's just a backup. Deshaun Watson. So, Deshaun Watson he had a down year last year with the Browns, but if you really watch those games, the last 5 or 6 games, he actually played really, really good, and I expect him to be a lot better this year. Talent-wise, he's a franchise quarterback. If you push aside all his fucking nonsense off the field and how much of a fucking creep he is and shit, he's a top 5 talent at the position. Like, if you were like, oh, my top 5 quarterbacks in terms of pure skill and effectiveness on the field, and you put Deshaun Watson in that top 5, I'm not going to argue with you, because when he was with Houston, it was him and DeAndre Hopkins, and the two of them just fucking destroyed fucking their division, and we're going to the playoffs and battling it out with the Chiefs and shit. He's a franchise quarterback. He's been paid accordingly throughout his whole entire career. I actually expect the Browns. I'm not one of these dudes that's like, oh, the Browns are going to win 12 games next year, because there's dudes that say that shit every year. But I expect the Browns. I think we're gonna see this year how much the quarterback is important, because the Browns have had arguably a top 10 roster for 7 years now, and all they can do is run the football and play defense from time to time, and they're not good. This is what elevates your football team. So you can say what you want about them spending the money on him and shit, and I know it's fucking shady, and they're giving money to a guy that in theory, if he did all the shit he did, doesn't deserve it, but, everyone deserves the right to work, I guess. So, Deshaun Watson, franchise quarterback. God, I wish I knew who this dude was. He looked, that bugs me. I think I know who it is. I can't remember his name. I think this kid is, that's not, Elliger, is it? But, whatever. Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is a good quarterback, and again, I think Justin Fields falls into a similar line with Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy more so, where he needs a lot of help around him. I do think he's has arm talent. I think he actually has arm talent in spades. He could throw the ball on the run, and then obviously his rushing upside. But something I've always agreed with my buddy Adam on is like, I think it's more so with guys that are in these categories and the rookies, you got to give them time. And I think he has the talent where now that he's got more pieces around him offensively, I think he's going to show that his arm talent is actually pretty decent. I think he's going to have a good year this year. And then obviously the rushing upside. He rushed for over 1,000 yards and like 10 touchdowns last year. So I think he's a good quarterback. He might be better. I think he might prove this year that he might be better than Jones. But we'll see. Justin Fields, good quarterback. Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, probably lesser quarterback. He's actually played pretty decent with the Jets last year, to be honest with you. Always has had the arm talent, not an overtly mobile guy, decent leader processor. His early years with the Ravens, he was actually a pretty good quarterback. And then you could say what you want about Anquan Bolden, but, you still have to actually physically throw darts in the fucking snow, and he had like an all-time performance campaign in the year he won the Super Bowl with the Ravens in the postseason. They won a lot of games. A lot of people probably didn't think they were going to win, on the road at Lambeau in the cold, fucking throwing darts in the snow. But he's still, at this point in his career, just a lesser quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo. I would say Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback. I would say Jimmy Garoppolo's a good quarterback. He's one of those guys, that's perfect. Coincidentally enough, him and both Purdy are here in this list, and it's because they played for the 49ers, where the system and the team is so good, they makes a quarterback that's average look a lot better than they really are. But I would say he's a good quarterback. I mean, he has arm talent, not heavy arm talent. He's not a guy that's going to accurately throw the football down the field all the time. But, he's a little bit mobile, can manage the game, very good processor, just a smart player. He's been injured at times and stuff like that, nagging injuries, but, you can win. If your roster around him is really good, you can win football games with Jimmy Garoppolo. I know, I know that I've shit on him a lot in the past and stuff like that. That's mostly a side effect of like if you're gonna be truly a contender every year, you need guys like these guys up here, not these guys down here. So I think that gets misconstrued. He's a solid quarterback. Geno Smith. So I know he had a really good year last year, but as of right now, the state of like mixed with how his career's gone and how well he played last year, I think he's a good quarterback. He had a really good year last year in a system that I really think is tailored to him. I think the system they tried to run with the Jets was a lot different. And they asked him to do a lot of different things back in the day. He also had more than one offensive coordinator when he played. Locker rooms issues, getting snuffed by his fucking teammates and shit. But personally, I think his skill set is not too much dissimilar from Russell Wilson's. And I think it fits Pete Carroll in the Seattle Seahawks in their system, and I think that's why he had such a good year last year. Do I think he's great or a franchise quarterback? Nah, they paid him for like the next 3 or 4 years, and I don't expect him to be like that much better than what he's been. I think he could maintain to a degree what he's been doing. That team's set up for the next couple of years to be able to do what they did last year. Won't be world beaters, but yeah, Geno Smith's solid. So Jared Goff's actually a pretty good quarterback. Jared Goff is a dude who's got loads of arm talent. He's actually pretty accurate. I would say at times he makes bad decisions with the football, especially when he's like pressured. Sometimes I think when he's pressured in certain positions, he tends to get willy-nilly with the ball. Not the greatest athlete, but played really fucking well last year with Detroit. And he played really good at times with the Rams, their campaign where they first went to the Super Bowl. He's a really good player. So Giants have got the guy. And remember, he's only like 27, 28 years old. So the Lions have their guy for the future. They don't have to worry about drafting a quarterback and stuff like that. I do think that with their current team and him, unless he has like a huge leap from what he did last season, they're still going to be like a fledgling playoff team. I don't think they can make noise in the playoffs and stuff like that. I'd be surprised. But yeah, Jared Goff's solid. Heineke. I know Heineke's won football games and shit. But I think Heineke's a lesser quarterback. I mean, he's got a decent arm. And he's kind of got playmaking ability. And he's a gamer. And he's tough as nails. But he's just not overtly talented. That's why they've been looking for every other option but him at quarterback. So don't let some of the stuff he's done on the field fool you. Hendon Hooker. I have to put Hendon Hooker in here with the lesser QBs because we haven't... And I don't even remember where Hendon Hooker went, but I love Hendon Hooker's college tape. He could throw the ball down the field. You don't want to ask him to do too much. He's not a guy who could volume throw and stuff, but he's got playmaking ability. I actually like this tape with Tennessee, even though they don't play a lot of good teams. Yeah, Hendon Hooker. He's solid. I can't wait to see what he's going to do. Justin Herbert. So this one's tough. A lot of people would say he's S tier. He's definitely elevated his team. His team throughout his tenure there has been riddled with injuries every single year and has never been able to fully optimize. But if you look at his career, every year, efficiency-wise, he's gotten better, and every year they've won more and more games. And I expect the Chargers to be, once they actually get who they perceive to be the right coach in there, once they get a more well-rounded roster, I think the Chargers are going to be formidable in the future. Could they win a Super Bowl with him? Possibly. But it is the Chargers. I mean, they're not in San Diego. Maybe that lifts the curse of the Chargers being the Chargers. But I would say right now, based off the three that are in here, he's definitely the best out of those guys. Sorry about that. You can even make the case talent-wise. Deshaun Watson's better than Dak, too. So we'll flip that. Think this is the dude that backs up Lamar. Let's say lesser quarterback. I forget his name. Not really that talented of a thrower. Decent short yardage passes. Good on throwing screens and shorter routes. Good runner, which is why he's Lamar's backup. Fits that system to a degree. Yeah. lesser quarterback. So this one's a tough one. Jalen Hurts. In terms of sheer effectiveness, you could say he's S tier, and they signed him the big contract. So I would say he's a franchise quarterback. He's not truly an S tier quarterback. You can make the argument that he's as effective because of his running game, but he's not the thrower and the quarterback ace and player that the guys that are in the S tier are. His rushing ability, if he can maintain that every single year at that position, makes him, coupled with the passing, makes him, S tier in terms of effectiveness. And let's be honest, you go watch the tape, he's thrown 22 touchdowns and his accuracy is pretty decent last year, but he's mostly throwing to wide open guys. He's definitely a guy that, in terms of the passing game, needs the high-level weapons that he has. If you strip some of that down a degree, he wouldn't be the same passer. Most of his guys are wide open. I think he struggles in anticipatory throwing, and when it's time to actually do anticipatory throwing, that's where some of his missteps can be. But all in all, I've been thoroughly impressed, though, by him to maintain the professionalism, be a leader, and he's been balling. So as of right now, after a small sample size, he's definitely a franchise quarterback. He's the Eagles quarterback going forward, and he's been pretty effective. He's a pretty good player. I don't know who the fuck this dude is, and he looks goofy, so I'll throw him bad backups. Josh Allen, say what you want. Josh Allen's an S-tier quarterback. In all terms of playing quarterback, he has insane arm talent, can make every single throw. He's probably the best playmaker in terms of passing and running combined, mixed together, in terms of all the different things they could scheme him up within the offense. I would say out of the S-tier guys, the only knock that he gets is he's just a little bit less efficient than those other guys. And that's where scheme and coaching comes into play. The overall team comes into play. The Bills roster is not as good as some of the other S-tier teams and actually some of these franchise teams in here. His offensive line's not that great. He doesn't have the weapons these guys have, but he still can go out there and get you 13 wins. A lot of it is on his back, and I also think that since it is all on his back, he's asked to do more, which means there's more margin for error, so it makes the Bills a little bit less efficient. I'd like to see them get maybe just one more weapon through the air. I like their pick at tight end. There was a lot of good wide receivers left, so you take a really good wide receiver, like a tight end. He's got more of that Travis Kelce mode, Kincaid does, where he's not an inline tight end. You can just put him all over the place, so they're interested to see how that works out. But yeah, if you don't think Josh Allen's S tier, go fall down somewhere. Kirk Cousins, people aren't going to like this, but Kirk Cousins to me is a franchise quarterback. Kirk Cousins is really efficient, has really good arm talent, can make all throws, doesn't have the velocity of some of these guys that throw the football. But in terms of processing the work, knowing what's going on the field in front of him, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And pretty much him and Justin Jefferson and Cooks have just been dragging a franchise around that can't seem to build a reputable team. There's just holes everywhere. Personally, I don't think they're that deep at wide receiver. Their defense is absolutely horrible every year. You can't play no defense. I just don't think it's a really good team that he's on. And he still balls pretty much every single year. He played good last year, and I thought that wasn't even one of his best years. So they could shit on Kirk, but I think Kirk's a franchise quarterback. Kyler Murray. So Kyler Murray's definitely better than all these dudes down here in the good QBs tier. So I guess I have to put him into the great QB tier, which means I don't know, he's pretty good. He has all the talent in the world, really good arm talent, accurate. The ball, just pops out of his hands. And he got the rushing upside. Downside is obviously he's tiny stature. Some of his decision making can be bad at times, and honestly, I don't think he's a clutch player. When he gets to the playoffs, he kind of shits his pants and he gets put into moments where he's got to face adversity. He had that one playoff game where the pocket broke down, he started running around, and instead of running for a first down, he just was spun around and just threw the ball down the field through an interception. You're gonna get shit like that with Kyler Murray. I feel like he kind of can break down mentally, but talent wise. His talent is great. Everything else needs work, and it seems like for all intents and purposes, he's not the best locker room guy. He acts like a fucking 5-year-old. So yeah. So this one's tough for me because I defend Lamar Jackson all the time. There's a part of me that wants to put Lamar Jackson. There's a part of me that wants to put Lamar Jackson in S tier. And I'll tell you why. So Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, the Ravens haven't done a good job building rosters around him, right? For his career, he throws 74 or 64% in terms of accuracy, which that's pretty good. Most of the time, for an offense to be truly efficient throwing the ball, you want it to be around 65%. Considering the fact that they never have weapons half the time for him on his team, and all they try to do is run the ball and shit. He's actually a really effective passer, and he's actually more effective at actually throwing the football down the field. That's a big part of his game. He's literally, what is he? He's like 45-16 career-wise in terms of his wins. He's won an MVP. Like, he's got like almost a fucking 80% win percentage. I just think he's a really effective player when he's fully healthy, and I guess that's one of the knocks on him is that he has been hurt fairly often, and I would say the fact that he's slightly injury prone is the only thing that's going to keep him out of S tier because of his style of play. But I can make the argument he's effective enough as a player when he's healthy to be an S tier. So I will put him in franchise quarterback, although I really want to make him an S-tier quarterback so bad. And the only reason why I don't put him ahead of Herbert is Herbert's just a better actual quarterback. But all you dudes, like I said, go fucking fall down if you don't think Lamar Jackson's good. Lamar Jackson's phenomenal. The Atlanta Falcons, with their players on offense in their system, how they didn't go after him and try to trade for him during the free agency period is fucking beyond me. They would immediately been a 10-win team with those weapons, that offensive line, and those running backs. They would have been a 10-win team with the worst defense in the league, and they would have started winning their division. But then you let them stay on the Ravens. I mean, he's better off with the Ravens because they do a better job building a team. I think they just missed it like certain positions. They keep missing it wide receiver, and that's really hindered him. So Lamar Jackson, franchise quarterback. Trey Lance, who the fuck knows? I'm putting him in uncertain because who knows? We've barely seen him play. Love, I'll put him in uncertain because we've barely seen him play. Mac Jones. So Mac Jones is a tough one. This is a tough one. Mac Jones has had his rookie year. He was really good. He was really accurate. I would say he has to go into good QBs because he's probably better than Brock Purdy, and he plays on a team that's not as good. But what you get is what you get with Mac Jones. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's like ever going to be a world beater. He's definitely a dude that you need to put a lot of shit around him for you to win a lot of football games. Really accurate guy, smart guy, good processor, but doesn't have even a great arm. He's a guy that you're going to really need to get a lot of weapons around him for him to succeed. But, by proxy, he could win football games, if the Patriots build up a really good defense and they get the best out of Bill Belichick coaching. He can win some football games. So I give him a good. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, S tier. You make the argument in terms of overall quarterbacking and playmaking. He's number one. Don't need to say much about him. The kid from the Titans, absolutely booty cheeks. What the fuck is Malik Willis? He has an absolute cannon for an arm, and that's about it. He's not accurate, can't read the field, doesn't make good decisions with the football. He's got rushing upside and an offense that likes to run the ball, but, part of what makes a quarterback effective at running the ball and helping the running game is the fact that the guy's actually a threat to keep his eyes down the field, make reads, and throw it on any given moment in a lot of designed plays. He just can't do that, so he's absolute garbage. He's going to be third on the depth chart after this season. Marcus Mariota. I think Marcus Mariota, when he's healthy, is a pretty good quarterback. Very accurate, playmaking upside. I don't think he makes the worst decisions with the football. I think he's a really good leader. I just think he's been hurt most of his career. He's never had a chance to stay with the same offensive coordinator and thrive under a guy. He's just hurt all the time. He seems to be like, a really good leader. I was watching that quarterback documentary, and it's supposed to be like the 3 tiers of quarterback, like elite, really good in Kirk Cousins, and then like fledgling like Mariota. But I think Mariota's solid. Mariota, man. Matt Stafford. So this one's tough. Matt Stafford's a franchise quarterback. Matt Stafford's actually one of the more talented quarterbacks I've seen in my time watching football. Is a dude who can make every single throw, has a rocket for an arm, tough as nails, read the whole football field, makes great decisions with the football. But he's another dude who's been injured a lot, like throwing fucking touchdowns with the left hand and shit because his shoulder's blown out. Yeah, he had Calvin Johnson, which was a big part of his early success, but with or without him, he's shown that he's been a really good quarterback. And the Rams supposedly are now trying to get out of his contract, but, the Rams are in real build now, and Stafford's going to be closer to 35 than he is to 30. Supposedly he said he's not going to restructure his contract, but he's really good. Like, when he's playing the best of his ability, he's worth being signed to any franchise long term. Don't know who that dude is. Is that Colt McCoy? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think that's Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy, lesser backup. For some reason, though, Colt McCoy comes into football games. Like, if you ask him to come into a football game, he'll come into the football game and tear it up. But if you ask him to start, he's just booty cheeks. Matt White, obviously everyone can hop in there with the jokes or whatever about him beating the Bengals that fucking one time. But, lesser quarterback, a guy that's can follow the script. He's accurate. He's tough and shit, but not any real high arm talent there. Oh, my man. What the fuck is his name? Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's an average quarterback. He's a guy that actually is talented. If you look at his numbers, he's actually a dude that, actually makes a lot more good plays than he does bad plays. Like, you plug him into a really good team and he can win some football games, but just not overtly talented. In certain situations where you need big plays out of him and shit, he just doesn't have the high-level arm talent to, beat any real good teams. But fun player to watch, plays hard, good leader, just an average quarterback. I think this is Trace McSorley, lesser quarterback. I mean, he's just a quarterback that he has no arm talent. He kind of just runs the football. Plays hard. He's more of like a running back that plays quarterback. Kenny Pickett. I'm going to put Kenny Pickett in the average quarterback because I seen a lot of good things out of him last year, and I think he's more talented than these other guys. He's actually really, really accurate. Solid processor for a young guy. Makes good decisions with the football. I just think his team on offense is just not that good. They're starting to put some weapons around him. They're trying to build the offensive lineup. I think they'll be competitive next year. He's not a guy that, unless you have like really good pieces around him, is going to fill it up. But I don't think they missed on the pick, considering where they decided to pick and stuff like that. So I think he fits what they do. It's Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he fits that culture. Kenny Pickett, average quarterback. Desmond Ridder. So this one's tough. The Falcons are just going to roll with Desmond Ridder this year because they did draft a quarterback and they drafted another running back. I said last year that I didn't think he was the most talented, but I thought he was the most pro-ready. He played in a pro-style system in college, and he was accurate, although that team was really good. I'm going to have to put him probably in uncertain because I just got to see what we get out of him this year. I think he's got some talent. Like I said, an accurate quarterback, composed quarterback, but it remains to be seen what he's going to do. Aaron Rodgers, still an S-tier quarterback. His past 2 seasons have been a little bit down over with the Packers, but a lot of that is because the dude didn't want to fucking play there anymore. He's going to be surrounded by a better roster, really, really decent defense, although I wonder where they're going to get their pass rush from because their pass rushers haven't been healthy or have been consistent even when they are healthy. I think there's a lot of things that are going on with that team that, people aren't talking about. Their offensive line doesn't seem to stay healthy. Their running backs, their high-level running backs coming off an injury. They're not the best pass rushing team. Love their weapons through the air. And I think Rodgers is going to help optimize, and we're going to find out how good this team can be if he plays the best of his ability. But in terms of, I mean, what's there to say? Even at 30 fucking 8 or 39 or whatever, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So Aaron Rodgers, S tier. Russell Wilson has one bad year last year, and everyone fucking acts like he's garbage. I think he bounces back this year. I don't think that the Broncos. I would be surprised if the Broncos were a playoff team, although it's not impossible. Like with Sean Payton and the talent, that roster's talented. I could see them possibly getting 9, 10 wins this year. I think he bounces back, and from a sheer talent standpoint, he's great. Can make every throw. Has a really good arm. Is mobile. Really good leader. Usually makes good decisions with the football. He's a pro. He's a perennial fucking Pro Bowler. Fucking won himself a Super Bowl. I.e., was on a really good team. But in terms of what you normally get out of him, when he's on his game, he's better than all of these guys. So I put him up here. I don't know if I want to put him first or second, but don't know who this dink is. Ooh, Sam Howell. I think I'm going to put Sam Howell up here in lesser quarterbacks. But I have a theory that Sam Howell plays really, really good next year. I want to put him right up here in average quarterbacks. I think he's talented. Has pretty good arm talent. Can make every single throw. He proved in the games he played last year that he's a pretty solid anticipatory thrower in a small sample size. And he has legitimate playmaking, rushing upside. In college football, he broke the most tackles in college football. Last year he played with 68 as a quarterback. And in the games that he played last year, he played like a game and a half, and he played some preseason games. Even at the NFL level, it's hard for fucking dudes to tackle. He's got wiggle. He's deceptively fast. And when he came out, I said that he was like a less athletic Russell Wilson. And that's what he looks like to me on the field. Obviously, that's just a style comp. That's not saying he's that good. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to put him up here. I think he's pretty solid. And I think he's going to show he's pretty solid. And I definitely think he's more talented than these guys. And I think he's going to show that this year. Ooh, spicy take. Don't know who this dude is. Don't know who that dude is. I'm sure if you told me who these dudes were, I'd be like, oh yeah. CJ Stroud. I'll put CJ Stroud in lesser quarterback. I think he's talented. He reminds me, and I've seen this comp other places, but when I thought about it, he reminds me of like Ryan Tannehill. Just I think he's more athletic. I think he can get out and run better than Ryan Tannehill. He's a guy that's got arm talent, but he's not going to wow you with explosive plays through the air. I think he's more of a system guy, spread the ball around, run and make plays. I don't know how good he is as a leader. In Ohio State, he's definitely in that Ohio State system, you don't have to make a lot of reads, so we're going to have to see how he adjusts to the pace. And can he make reads deep down the field and hang in the pocket? But I definitely think he's a talented player, so I'll put him up here in this lesser QBs. So speaking of his comp, Ryan Tannehill. I think Ryan Tannehill's a good quarterback, and I would probably put Ryan Tannehill when he's healthy about right there. So Ryan Tannehill was originally a wide receiver for most of his football career, and then eventually he got to Miami, started playing quarterback, which is it's fucking interesting. But he's actually a pretty good player. Decent athlete, can run a little bit, make some plays. Consistently accurate in all levels of the field, although he doesn't have like a high level of velocity, but he's got good touch and anticipatory throwing. Good leader. I think he sees the field pretty well. Not a world beater, but you can win a lot of football games with Tannehill. So it's interesting to see there with Will Levis developing behind him, how long he keeps his job. I don't know. We'll see. Trask is a bad backup. Let's face it. They brought Baker Mayfield in. If Trask was the guy, whatever. Franchise quarterbacks. I think Trevor Lawrence has S-tier skills and talent, but he just hasn't done as much yet. So I'm going to put him right there. I think that he's a franchise quarterback. Got off to a rocky start, but hey, it is Jacksonville. But he looked damn fucking good last year, especially in this the back half of the field. And lo and fucking behold, in my opinion, that roster is not that good. And he brought that roster to the playoffs and won a playoff game. You get the quarterback right, you get the coach right, it's half the battle. Stop ignoring all the examples. Trevor Lawrence, franchise quarterback. Mitch Trubisky, everyone that loves rushing's favorite quarterback. That's all you need is a dude that doesn't fucking make mistakes. Mitch Trubisky sucks. Bad backup. Tua Tagovailoa, I'm going to put him up here with these two. So Tua, besides the fact that a stiff breeze can fucking hit him and he's knocked out for the rest of the season, really talented thrower of the football. Doesn't have a rocket arm by any means, but it's enough to get it. He has enough of an arm to get it down the field. But the main thing is, even though he's got weapons, he's deadly accurate and is a really good anticipatory thrower. And that just shows you with the lack of arm, he just still does a good job putting the ball in the windows for his wide receivers, throwing his guys open. It's more touch and anticipatory style throwing. He's really talented in terms of his accuracy, his processing, his decision making. I definitely do think the speed of the wide receivers helps him, but I don't think it helps him to this degree where he's not inept. He definitely needs those guys to be the top of his game, but you still got to go out there and make these fucking throws. Don't think for a second that if any of these dudes had fucking those wide receivers that they would be fucking anywhere close to this. They would not. None of these guys would. Trubisky wouldn't. These guys wouldn't. A lot of these guys wouldn't. But yeah, hopefully he stays upright. That division's going to be a bloodbath. Not overtly athletic, but really smart player, could process, all that stuff, all the good stuff. Tua, put him in the great slot. I think this is... Is that... Who is that? I'm pausing because I want to say I know who that is. Who's the dude that played for the Bills? It's a backup. God damn it. Oh, no. That's PJ, what's his face from Carolina. Bad backup. Carson Wentz. This one's tough because Carson Wentz has talent and he's athletic and he has a lot of shit going for him that's really good, but he's always hurt. And I think, he has all the physical tools and the talent. I just think he's a bad processor and doesn't make good decisions with the football. So yeah, they have to put him in average or less. You win football games with him and shit. Lesser, I don't know. I'll put him in average quarterback because he's still talented, but he just hurt too much and makes bad decisions with the football. So Will Levis, I actually like the talent that was on tape with Will Levis. He can make all the throws. He has all the tools. He just has to be more of a better processor, and be better with anticipatory throwing and not freaking out during plays. I'm going to put him here with lesser quarterbacks, probably right there. Because I think he could definitely eventually get the starting job with the Titans. Same thing with Zach Wilson. I'll put Zach Wilson right here, lesser quarterback. He has talent for days. Makes bad decisions with the football, super fucking immature. Maybe sitting behind Rodgers will help him. I think he's only 22 or 23 years old, so definitely got all the arm talent in the world. It's just everything fucking else needs work. Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston, when he plays the best ability, is an average quarterback. He's a guy that can throw a fuck ton of touchdowns. He's also a guy that throw a fuck ton of interceptions. Makes a lot of bad decisions with the football. He's actually an underrated athlete, but he's also hurt a lot and not a good person off the field from what I've heard. Likes to smack women around and shit. That's besides the point. We're talking football, but I just think it's funny. Low tier average quarterback. Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is going to be really good for Carolina. So, everyone freaked out about Kyler Murray, and besides all the shit with Kyler Murray being small and all that happy stuff, that was their issue. The dude's proven to be very, very talented, and when you put the right stuff around him, that team has won football games. Bryce Young, similar scenario. I think Bryce Young has pretty good velocity on his throws. I think he's extremely talented, anticipatory thrower, can read the field, makes good decisions with football, and he's really accurate. And on top of that, he's a playmaker. He's like 4 inches taller than, Kyler Murray, which is making him 6 feet tall. Kyler Murray's not 5'10". Only 6 feet tall, weighed 198 pounds, 196 pounds at the combine. He definitely could beef himself up. I could see he has the frame to make himself at least 200, 205 pounds. But the dude's got all the playmaking tools, all the arm talent, the accuracy, and he's a really, really smart player. I know he played for a really good team in college, but the dude's extremely talented. And I think that the Carolina Panthers are actually building up a decent roster around him. We just got to see what we get out of the wide receivers now. They drafted a good rookie wide receiver in Mingo last year, and I actually like Terrence Marshall Jr. If he could stay healthy, I think he could actually be a really good wide receiver for that team. We'll see, man. I think Bryce Young's talented. Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? All right. Those are all the quarterbacks that are left. These are my quarterback tier rankings from 2023. Let me guys know what you think about them. Leave comments in the comment section. Sorry if any of y'all got fucking butthurt, but I actually think I did a pretty fair analysis. There's a lot of dudes that would probably rank like Daniel Jones and lesser QB, Jimmy Garoppolo and lesser QB. There's a lot of dudes that would probably rank, fucking Kenny Pickett higher, and probably would disagree with me on my takes with Lamar Jackson, but that's fine. People have their own opinions on this shit. Leave a like in the comment, or leave a like right in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. These are my quarterback tiers for 2023. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.